Well, I went to Albania in the summer initially, and went over to Albania, and met someone there from a friend of mine that I met in Newport. And a friend of mine in Newport introduced me to an Albanian man. So he invited me to come back again this year, and went to talk on business. And he said, "Will you come and teach on business to the young people?" Albania is a great country, but they have all the young people, and the men particularly, seem to be exiting and leaving the country, and they're going in search of work. So when they're going in search of work, they're looking for jobs, so they come to the UK or to other parts of Europe. And there's been an economic sort of spiral of a downturn where the young men are leaving the country, they're finding wives and having families, and then they're never returning to Albania. So the country's in sort of an economic downturn regarding business. So he wanted me to come and teach on how to start businesses and how to run your business effectively. So went there, and it was the most incredible experience. The people there were in their 18 to 30s, young men and women, but it was to teach on how to start your business and then how to network effectively. So it was a great time, and just to help and give advice, really. Being asked to go was a real honour, and when I went as a business consultant and starting my business, I knew I had something to give and something to offer. But it was a real honour, and somewhat a humbling experience, humbling to be invited and asked to go along. So it was a conference, a young adults conference, and I spoke at two separate events, and also on a panel, a Q&A panel, with another American businessman who's doing something similar in the country and trying to help young people and invest in young people in the country. So that was great to just bounce off each other and be asked questions, ask lots of open questions about and give advice, so what they're struggling with. And one young man really wanted to start a coffee business but just didn't know how. He just didn't really know how to start a business. And I look back at my life over the years of being employed prior to ever being in business, and I cut my teeth by working for somebody. I got a job in the industry that I ended up starting my business in and learning, which in a way was the privilege of getting paid to learn what you do by doing the job, and then get into business yourself. So that's how I started, really. I learned the trade by being employed within it, and then when I knew what I was doing, and then went off and did it myself. Yes, I think the question that often comes up when it comes to talking about how to start a business, it all comes somehow back to money. And people think that you've got to have money to start a business. But I wish I could get a needle and pop that bubble of misconception, because actually I started a business with nothing and turned it into a £1.5 million turnover business, and then sold it. And I started with no money, and I started several businesses with no money. And you think, oh, well, that's you. But actually, no, that's you as well. It'd be great to have a big pot of money behind you, but the number one thing that people think is you've got to have a big pot of money to see you for the next 6 months, for your salary, to pay your mortgage, to pay your bills. Yes, there are those business jargon words that we use, like forecasting and cash flow and all those things, and business words. But actually, it's okay to start a business, but you might just have to have a job as well. I think it doesn't matter where you are in the world. It could be Albania, it could be India, Nepal, Wales, or the UK in general. It's about sort of mentality, I think. And I'll come back to saying what I said earlier, that if you think you can, you probably can. If you think you can't, you most definitely won't. If you think you can start your business, give it a go. What's the worst that could happen? But actually, it's not just about people in Albania haven't got money, or it's a poorer country than the UK. Recently, I was in Nepal, and just looking at the entrepreneurial spirit that people have, I was just looking around amazed that people were trading there. There was no lack of people with ambition, people with obviously a different culture, and they're pushing a hand-wheel cart down the road full of fruit and veg and spices and just doing business. And in the evening I go out for a walk, or going out for dinner, and there'd be people on the side of the road just doing business, selling things, and you think, oh well, they're just like traders, they're just on the side of the road buying and selling. But actually, they're in business. What is business? You're offering a product or service and making profit, and if you're making money, you're in business. Yeah, that's a great question. From meeting the Albanian people, they are so proud. They are wonderful people, and they were really proud of their country, proud of their culture. And if you haven't been there, you should go and visit. It's such a great place, and it's not that they want to leave. They just needed to go in search of work, and as I said, the young men were going off to get jobs, and then meeting partners and having children, having families, which meant they never ever did return, and they were setting up businesses or getting jobs out of the country and then settling down. So you've got an older generation that are in the country where the young men and young people were vacating or leaving. So but they didn't want that. From experience of talking to them, they don't want to, and they want to be successful, and they want to be in their country. And but real entrepreneurial people, one thing I've learned, it doesn't matter where in the world you are. It could be the UK, it could be in Albania, India, Nepal, anywhere in the world. People generally, entrepreneurs are entrepreneurs, and it doesn't matter where in the world. People see opportunities and do it. So that's what an entrepreneur is: someone who sees an opportunity and then runs with it. So it was an interesting conversation, because he had a dream of having a chain of coffee shops, and wanted a whole chain of different coffee shops. So we looked at, actually, what does he love doing, and let's go back to basics. What you like doing and what are you good at? So he wanted to start a coffee shop or a chain of coffee shops, but if we take it back to basics, what are you doing now? And are you working in a coffee shop? Are you learning how to grind beans and make coffee? Or actually, is it just a good idea because you've seen other successful people doing it? Or is there even demand for what you want to do? So we took it back to basics and said, well, why? Why do you want to do what you do? Is it just for money, or is it actually something you're passionate about? Like for me, when I started Ignite Business Consultancy, it was because I saw an opportunity of doing it. Having sold my previous business, and people were asking me, Carl, will you help me with my business? A friend of mine wanted to start a cleaning company, and he said, Carl, I really need a business plan. Will you help me with that? Will you help me to write a business plan? So I did. And then someone else asked me, Carl, will you help me with my business and give me some advice, because you've been in business? So I helped them. And then I saw the opportunity to give advice and start a business as a business consultant, and that's what got me into that. So coming back to your question, can't even remember what it was.